All right. Morning, folks. It's 12th day of May, 2025. It's 9 a.m. We are in the Aquarium Education Center located at 706 Navigation Circle, Rockport, Texas, 78382. And I call this regular meeting to order. Please join me with the invocation.
Please join me as I pray. Father, as always, we're thankful for the blessings of this new day, the beautiful weather you've given us, and just for the great privilege of living in this great county and state and country. And Lord, the word that you put on my heart for this meeting is peace. And Lord, your word says in Matthew 5, verse 9, is that blessed is the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. And so you call those that are peacemakers blessed, and that should be our goal, because our goal in life is to be more like you. And Father, we just pray a special blessing on these commissioners today as they conduct the business of this county, that they will truly be peacemakers. We pray you touch their hearts, because people can change what they do and not change who they are. But if they change who they are, they will always change what they do. So we want them to be changed into peacemakers. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Join me with the pledges. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Our allegiance to the unitary, one faith, under God, one indivisible.
All right, thank you. Roll call.
Chair Cheney.
Here.
Commissioner Casterline.
Here.
Commissioner Russo. Here. Commissioner Dupnick.
Here.
And Judge Dutton.
Here, we've got a full quorum. At this time, we'll hear from citizens to be heard. And first up, we got Michaela Alston.
Good morning, Judge Garza and Commissioners. My name is Michaela Alston, and I reside at 403 Trailer Boulevard. I am here today to bring your attention on an important matter that will be addressed at the appraisal board meeting scheduled at 4 o'clock today. The current chair of the appraisal board, who also serves as the county appointee, is proposing to rewrite the resolutions that outline how the taxing entities participate in appointing board members. Currently, the County Commissioners Court appoints 2 members, and the Rockport Fulton ISD appoints 3 members. In accordance with the 1989 resolution I have brought to you to review today, and I have a packet for each of y'all. I did send this over. Can I give it to him? I did send this over to Miss Tracy on Friday and asked for them to send these to each of you, and was responded with, that's not the court's job to do that. So I just want to make sure you each have. And I believe the judge received it.
Yeah, you.
But I have another one. I put it 5.
Good.
Did you want another one?
Yeah, go. I don't need it. I've already seen it.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Cruzan, the school board president, was contacted by the chair of the appraisal board to discuss the proposed rewrite and intended purpose. Upon learning of the proposed changes, Mr. Cruzan consulted with Dr. Austin, the superintendent of RFISD. Mr. Cruzan documented some concerns in a 1-page letter addressed to Mr. Ocker, who is your appointee, which was sent to each appraisal board member and each county commissioner and judge in full transparency, since the county is the only other taxing entity that appoints board members. Mr. Cruzan's letter then was met with a 7-page rebuttal from the appraisal board chair. I encourage you each to review the letters as they illustrate the tone and intent of the proposal and provided important context. I have read Mr. Cruzan's letter, and its intent is clear that if there are to be any changes, let's follow the tax code laws in place by the state of Texas. Nothing more or less should be read into this letter. In the interest of full transparency, I wanted to ensure that you are aware of the developments. Included in your packet are the current resolutions, Mr. Cruzan's letter, and Mr. Ocker's response. I ask that you review these before today's meeting, at the appraisal board at 4:00.
Thank you. Kim Hesley. She's not here. She put she's not going to be here, but I'll read her her message into the record. She is talking about agenda item number 21. She's against this item. She does not believe it would be advantageous to have someone who could bring bias to the job advising the county judge and the court. If there are concerns with advice coming from the county attorney's office, that matter should be discussed directly with the county attorneys. That's Ms. Kim. And now Ms. Deborah Stevens.
Good morning, judges, commissioners. It's Deborah Stevens, 2005 Baywood Drive. Here as a concerned citizen that I don't know, attend a lot of these meetings. In recent meetings, it was revealed that the county is considering taking legal action against Teal. When I first heard this, I was perplexed, as in all the meetings I had attended, I never thought perception as the primary issues were caused by Teal. I started attending these courts in the beginning of 2023, and during that year, I heard some issues of jail security and record keeping. And I felt that what was communicated primarily went back to the design team. It is my understanding the design team consists of PGAL and architects that brought us acts as a county overseer and advocates in this process between the architect, the contractor, and the county. Given my perception of the situation was opposed to what actions being considered by the county are, I spent a good deal of time going through news articles and minutes of meetings to see if there was anything I missed. This is what I printed out, lots of highlights of specific things. One news article that drew my attention was one in the Rockport Pilot dated 12/9/24. And it was after most of the meetings that you conducted early on in 2020. In that article, there's a person I'm unfamiliar with named Steve Fisher. And it's quoted that he highlighted the dubious management decisions during a public tour of the courthouse. I didn't know there was a public tour. I would have loved to have attended, but anyway, he then goes on to say, he asked the lead contractor point blank, do you have any experience in building courthouses? And the answer was no. And I had never seen anything very negative about Teal. There was an issue with doors or something that there's in one of the minutes. But it prompted me to go to Teal's website. So I'm like, okay, well, their project that they have highlighted on there is a courthouse annex for Medina County. I think it said it was completed in 2021. So I can't even imagine who we talked to. Could have talked to anybody. Could have been the foreman of the job. Could have been a subcontractor. I don't know because that person was named. He went on to explain how it requires extra legal security and safety requirements, and there are many contractors that specialize in government buildings. Once again, casting doubt on Teal's performance. Yeah, there are, and they can only build what the plans are and what the materials that they are requested to get. From there, I searched and found the one special meeting that had stuck out in my mind. And that was, I believe, January 31st. All of these are very interesting read, but what I took away from that was our county attorney, our county clerk, and our district clerk knew more about the requirements for record keeping than the design team did. Judge, my impression on multiple occasions was that you were not speaking up or taking enough action to bring to a close the record keeping issues of the county and district clerks. There's plenty of blame to cast. Those old administration, this administration, I'm sure there were problems at every level of the construction of this from every participating member. But even contemplating a lawsuit costing more money to the taxpayers and time to get this completed is unthinkable to me. The first plan submitted to the county July 2020, anticipated completion by the end of 2022. We're now almost halfway through 2025. And it sounds like it's gonna be a lot longer. We all know there have been way too many delays in paying for leases and record storage are even costing more. Please work diligently to find a quick solution to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. All right, we're gonna move on to presentations and proclamations. Item number 1, swearing in of Zach Westlake as the Aransas County Interim District Clerk. Yeah, the paperwork. Oh, he's got it. We have to, don't we have to sign some?
Zach has one.
Oh,
Yeah, he's got what you need. Some is for.
oops, okay.
It's gonna be district.
He tells me he's gonna break.
Raise your right hand. First, are you doing this willingly? In the name, by the authority of the state of Texas, or repeat after me. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I, Zach Westlake,
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I, Zach Westlake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office of Aransas County District Clerk
the duties of the office of Aransas County District Clerk
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state,
and of this state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Perfect. All right, and now we got the statement of officer. Repeat after me. I, Zach Westlake,
I, Zach Westlake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
offered,
offered,
promised to pay,
promised to pay,
contributed,
contributed,
or promised to contribute
or promised to contribute
any money or thing of value,
any money or thing of value,
or promised any public office,
or any
or promised any public
promised any public office
or employment
or employment
for the giving or withholding
for the giving or withholding
of a vote
of a vote
at the election
at the election
at which I was elected as which I was elected,
at which I was elected,
or as a reward
or as a reward
to secure my appointment or confirmation.
to
To secure my appointment or confirmation,
secure my appointment or confirmation,
whichever the case may be,
whichever the case may be.
so help me God.
So help me God.
You sign.
Just, you won't find us.
All right, y'all look like you like to. Got it. Thank you.
Do I need to sign anything?
And that way I can get this
So right now, at this moment, Zach Westlake is the district clerk. He's the district clerk office, so now he has to rush back to the courthouse and swear in his deputies. So if y'all want to see him swear in his deputies, you'll be doing that at the courthouse? Oh, right now. All right. We'll move on to item number 2.
I move to approve proclamation P -08-2025, recognizing the month of June the 25th as Elder Abuse Prevention Month for Aransas County.
Who needs that one?
Yeah.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Ms. Tracy?
Judge, Commissioners, this is recognizing the month of June as Elder Abuse Prevention Month in Aransas County. Whereas people who are elderly or have disabilities have contributed to the general welfare of Aransas County by helping to preserve customs, convictions, and traditions of many people from diverse backgrounds. And whereas these residents are vital and integral members of our society and their wisdom and experience have enriched our lives. And whereas abuse of the elderly and people with disabilities in domestic and institutional settings is a widespread problem affecting hundreds of thousands of people across the country. And whereas in 2023, there were 120,069 completed cases of elderly disabled persons abuse in Texas, of which 83,737 were confirmed. And whereas elder abuse is grossly underreported because the elderly who are being abused find it very difficult to tell anyone, and they are usually ashamed and sometimes afraid. And whereas elder abuse happens to men and women of all economic levels, all cultural and ethnic groups, whether they are in good health or incapacitated in some way, in poor neighborhoods or in suburbia. And whereas many of the cases investigated by Adult Protective Services in Texas involve self-neglect, and it is our duty as citizens to reach out to people in need. Now, therefore, let it be known, that the Commissioners Court of Aransas County do hereby proclaim the month of June 2025 to be Elder Abuse Prevention Month in Aransas County, and urge all citizens to work together to help reduce abuse and neglect of people who are elderly or have disabilities.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo, Commissioner Dukenyak, Judge Johnson.
Aye, motion passes 5-0.
I move to approve proclamation P 09-2025, recognizing the month of May twenty twenty-five as History Preservation Month in Aransas County.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second.
All right, this one is recognized in the month of May as History Preservation Month in Aransas County. Whereas May is designated as History Preservation Month in Aransas County, a time to celebrate and recognize the importance of preserving our cultural heritage and historic sites. And whereas the preservation of our historical landmarks, architecture, and landscapes enriches our community, fosters a sense of identity, and connects us to our shared history. And whereas Aransas County is home to unique historical sites and structures that reflect our local culture and heritage, serving as valuable resources for education and tourism. And whereas the efforts of individuals, organizations, and local governments in preserving these sites contribute to the vitality and sustainability of our community. And whereas it is essential to promote awareness of the benefits of preservation, including economic revitalization, community engagement, and environmental sustainability. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners Court of Aransas County, do hereby proclaim the month of May as History Preservation Month in Aransas County. We encourage all residents to engage in preservation activities, support local preservation efforts, and celebrate the rich history of our community.
All right.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo, Commissioner Dukenyak,
Aye.
Judge Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. And we've got members of the History Commission
And I think Historical
and
Society.
the Historical Society.
History Center.
If y'all would like to come and let's take a photo. Thanks for being here.
Could be on this side.
Yeah, we'll come on this side and we'll face that way.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, folks. Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Before we leave that, I went to the celebration that we had, the annual celebration where they recognized the folks that are outstanding with History Center. And while we were doing it, there was hummingbirds flying back and forth. And Mr. Progrette did a masterful job at it. But I got to thinking about how many thousands of years those hummingbirds have been coming back to the same spot. And how much Aransas County has changed in those many, many years. And it just kind of gave me a real sense of awe of how God does things like that, you know, and because there were hummingbirds, there were at least 20 hummingbirds. And they were doing all their presentation right underneath a huge yellow jacket. Those two ladies, not say.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Was a great ceremony. Y'all need to go with it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate those comments. Item number 4.
I move to approve proclamation 20-10-2025, recognizing the month of May 2025 as Stop the Bleed Month
I'll second that.
Got a motion second.
All right, this is recognizing the month of May as Stop the Bleeding Month in Aransas County. Whereas the health and safety of our community members are foundational to the well-being of our society, and we recognize the preparedness in the face of emergencies as vital to saving lives. And whereas traumatic injuries can occur unexpectedly, resulting from accidents, natural disaster, or acts of violence, and uncontrolled bleeding is one of the leading cause of preventable death in such situations. And whereas the Stop the Bleed campaign, initiated by the White House and supported by numerous healthcare and emergency response organizations, aims to educate the public about bleeding control techniques, emphasizing the importance of immediate action in emergencies. And whereas research has shown that when bystanders are trained to recognize life-threatening bleeding and act promptly, the chances of survival for the injured significantly increases, highlighting the critical role that ordinary citizens can play in emergency response. And whereas our community is home to dedicated first responders, healthcare professionals, and volunteers who are committed to enhancing public safety and fostering a culture of preparedness, and it is essential that we support and amplify their efforts. And whereas education and training in bleeding control techniques can empower individuals to act decisively in emergencies, providing them with the skill necessary to save lives and mitigate the impact of traumatic injuries. And whereas access to bleeding control resources, such as tourniquets and hemostatic dressing, must be prioritized in public spaces, schools, and community centers to ensure that immediate assistance can be provided in need. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners Court of Aransas County, do hereby proclaim, number one, support for the Stop the Bleed initiative. We wholeheartedly endorse the Stop the Bleed campaign and urge all community members to recognize their potential role in emergency situations by learning bleeding control techniques. Number two, community training programs. We commit to organizing regular training sessions throughout our community, making these programs accessible to residents of all ages and backgrounds. These sessions will cover essential skills such as applying pressure to wounds, using tourniquets effectively, and understanding when to call for emergency help. Number three, public awareness campaigns. We will launch public awareness campaigns to disseminate information about the importance of bleeding control, the signs of life-threatening bleeding, and available training opportunities, ensuring that our residents are informed and prepared. Number four, partnerships with local organizations. We will collaborate with local healthcare providers, emergency services, educational training efforts, share resources, and create a robust support system for the Stop the Bleed initiative. Number five, access to life-saving equipment. We will work towards ensuring that bleeding control kits are readily available in public spaces, schools, and community centers, empowering individuals to take immediate action should an emergency arise. Number six, encouraging a culture of preparedness. We will promote a culture of preparedness within our community, emphasizing that every resident has a role to play in safeguarding the lives of their neighbors and loved ones. By fostering a sense of responsibility and community engagement, we will enhance our collective resilience. And number seven, annual recognition of Stop the Bleed. We will establish an annual observance of the Stop the Bleed initiative to reinforce its importance, celebrate those who have been trained, and encourage continued participation in training programs and awareness efforts. In conclusion, let this proclamation serve as a resolute commitment to empower our community with knowledge and skills necessary to respond effectively to emergencies. By educating our neighbors, we cultivate a more prepared community where each life is valued and each individual feels empowered to act. To learn more about Stop the Bleed, go to stopthebleed.org or contact Patricia Arnold at Aransas County Medical Services.
Before we move to the vote, I would just like to mention that I and several others attended the hurricane conference at Robstown last week, and they did have a Stop the Bleed session where they were training people and awarding Stop the Bleed kits if you attended that. And glad Patricia's going to speak because we have these proclamations in court and talk about the importance, but really to follow up, especially on something like this, is critical for us. And so if you can give us some information about how our employees, ourselves, and community members can get involved, that would be great, Patricia.
Right, so the Stop the Bleed is a quick class. It takes about 45 minutes for the PowerPoint presentation and then another 15-20 minutes to do the skills. And teaching someone how to use the tourniquet and how to stuff, the wounds and pack the wounds and really stop the bleeding. And I have Lamar Volunteer Fire Department here with me today, but they are trained in Stop the Bleed. All of our volunteer fire departments are trained in Stop the Bleed. They all carry tourniquets. We've trained several people. The entire school district has Stop the Bleed stations and Stop the Bleed kits. You also have Stop the Bleed kits when you were located somewhere else. I'm not sure. They were in every AED throughout the courthouse, so I'm not exactly positive where those are, but you were all trained in Stop the Bleed at that time. We continue to train for free, our entire community. So all they have to do is reach out, schedule a class, and we'll train them. We continue to add that in our CPR and first aid, but we're available for education and training. We teach the school every year, starting in August before school starts, so they have to go through that annually. And then the EMS and, our fire department. Lamar has been wonderful at teaching and educating and helping with Aransas County Medical Services get the knowledge and training out. But they've also applied tourniquets in Lamar while they're waiting on EMS to arrive. So I'm very proud of our volunteer services and our emergency services, but Lamar kind of goes above and beyond because they're out there by themselves for a little bit. So, but we have trained so many people, and I'm very impressed with the Stop the Bleed training.
And I know it's been offered sometimes at our health fair by Jeremy or whatever like that.
Yes, we have a lot of instructors in the community, and then several of our instructors were teaching at the Hurricane Conference.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So
Would the volunteer fireman like to come up for a photo? Oh, we got to vote first, sorry.
You gotta vote.
Vote first.
Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Casterly.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick.
Aye.
Judge Best.
Aye, motion passes. Photo op.
we did invite Rockport and
Oh, hey, Rockport's here.
That's full.
Fulton's here. Fulton's here. I'm sorry. We did invite the fire department. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Tracy, can you take a photo?
He said nobody was coming for when I talked to him.
I'll take this stuff here.
I'm glad you're here. I know, I apologize.
1, 2, 3, let me get one more. Okay.
Thanks, Mike. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we got item number 5, which was tabled from last regularly scheduled meeting. Do you have a motion?
I move to approve the April 1st, 2025 presentation for Point Rockport Phase 2 LLC as required by the Chapter 381 Economic Development Agreement and authorize payment of $27,555.08 for the rebate on the taxes paid in January 2025.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second, sir.
Morning.
Morning.
My name is Mark. I'm one of the development partners in the whole entire Pearl Point development project. Today, I'm going to give you the annual report for Phase 2 Pearl Point, which is actually marketed under the name of Title 35 Apartments. So for development improved for the developers of this project, and I read this report to the developers of us. So the original agreement was put into place on October 29th of 2018, post Harvey, and we entered into the developer and the county developed into Chapter 381 agreement under the name of Rockport Harvey Housing LLC. The agreement supporting the construction of market rate apartments on 28 acres of the property in the city of Rockport, address 222 and 2498 FM 2165. Pursuant to the agreement, the project was constructed 2 phases. which phase one was constructed on lot one and phase two is constructed on lot two. As the property were platted on May 7th of 2019, phase one of the project commenced construction. February 9th of 2021, phase two was completed. May 2021, we sold the property. The developer sold lot two to a new entity, right? Because we, and then May 25th of 2021, the county consented to the assignment of the developer's rights and the obligations under the agreement as it relates to phase two owner, which is as it's recorded. As of this point, phase one and phase two were owned by two separate companies, including the respective rights and obligations under the agreement for each phase. On June 10th of 2021, phase two commenced construction, which is now Title 35. Developer sold its interest in phase one to Pearl Point One on July 15th of 2022. That's Rafe Corporation. We sold the original 216 units. We still own the other 264 units. February 6th of 2023, phase two was completed. So the agreement requires owners to submit an annual report outlining the compliance of each of the applicable terms of the agreement as follows. So compliance with the agreement, phase two hereby certifies to the county that it is in compliance with all terms, conditions, provisions set forth in the agreement. Number two is compliance with constructions. Developer commenced construction on May 7th of 2019, which was within the 60 days herein after called the effective date as required in the agreement. Construction of all improvements required in the agreement was completed on February 6th of 2023, which is within the 60 months after the effective date as required in the agreement. I was through pandemic, I was through a lot of stuff. Number three, apartments. Developer certifies that the construction of 480 rental apartments at Pearl Point Capital Investment. Developer certifies that it invested $69,653 or $653,518 to build both phases of Pearl Point, far exceeding the obligation to invest $40 million.
69 million, not thousand. 69 million.
69 million, okay. So you want me to repeat that?
No, you're good.
Lots of stuff here. Payment of ad valorem taxes, phase two, owners certified they paid all ad valorem taxes have been paid timely. Compliance with the county's ordinances, phase two, owner certifies is complied with all county ordinance. By local report. The agreement calls phase two owner to give reference to local manufacturers, suppliers, contractors, labor, except where it's not reasonably possible to do so at the comparable term, for which results in substantial inconvenience or sacrifice to operating efficiency. As of April 1st, 2023, owner invested the 69 million plus in phase one and two, of which 22,842,942 or 33 was spent in Aransas County companies, individuals for the following scope of work: underground utilities, paving, stone masonry, purchase of all lumber, windows, door siding, systems, anchoring system, trim materials, bath hardware. That was all done at the liquor stores. Personnel, temporary toilet, temporary utilities, temporary storage site signage, landscaping, irrigation, well drilling. So we use wells over there, so we can actually not be constrained by our water restrictions. Cleaning of the property, pest control, material inspection, civil engineering survey, fencing and artwork. Few exceptions, all were performed with suppliers purchases and supplies purchased from Pearl Point was done via competitive bidding. In each instance, owner selected the best bid rather than the lowest bid. When we do not find the Aransas County contractor or suppliers at comparable terms, look for the neighboring counties. The following work was procured in Oasis County, either because it wasn't available in Aransas County, or was the best bid submitted by the Oasis County or San Patricio contract supplier. That was our swimming pool, our job site trailer, office supplies, construction fencing, disposal of trash, mirrors, overhead doors, painting, epoxy flooring, and overnight security. The remaining work was performed by contractor outside Aransas, Nueces, or San Patricia County. Each of the following scopes was performed by contractors with expertise in production construction, meaning large scale, repetitive, rapid construction and or installation. Hiring contractors and or suppliers not capable of experience in production construction would result in non-competitive pricing and the substantial inconvenience or the sacrifice of operating efficiency. Those items were the financing, appraisal, environmental site assessment, architecture, interior design, structural engineering, framing, gypcrete, lightweight concrete drywall, joint sealant, and waterproofing flooring appliances, fire protection, fire alarm, plumbing, HVAC, electrical design, market study, steel railing, framing labor, granite countertops, sinks, fire extinguisher cabinets, pet stations, PVQ grills, installation, gutter downspouts, trim, install roofing signs and carports. So 8, hire local report. Greystar Real Estate Partners has 6 full-time employees that manage Title 35. All 6 of those employees reside in Aransas County.
All right, appreciate it. Any questions?
Has the check been distributed prior to our receiving the report? You know, Jeff. Thank you.
So we have, what, 4 more years?
I think they're.
It was a 10-year original agreement and it's a sliding scale. So the first year we got 100% back, 90, 80.
Yeah, that's all.
We have 5 more years.
5 more years.
Yes, sir.
Good. Done a good job up there.
Thank you. Oh, I get a check for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterly,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick, and Judge Benson.
Aye, motion passes. We're gonna move on with the consent agenda, but I'm going to take off item number 6, which are minutes from April 28th. There's an error in them. So commissioners will be voting on item number 7 and 8.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. I want to acknowledge the donation from the Friends of the Aransas County Public Library in the form of 3 pod carols with plug set for the Aransas County Public Library in the amount of $18,087.71.
Where are 5 carols?
There's a picture. There, it's like a little cubby.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterly,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
I,
Commissioner Dupnick, Judge Benson.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 9.
I move to approve the Rockport Cultural Arts District first quarter report for 2025.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Ms. Day, good morning.
Jennifer Day, 902 East Cornwall. There we go. All right. So our first quarter report for this year, we're going to start off with the beautiful picture of the cultural district by Mr. John Martell, a resident. So obviously this first quarter is all about the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian was a work in process for almost 2 years. It came to fruition and a lot of it has to do with Judge Garza and not having a backup plan and making it happen, right? As well as Commissioner Russo. So thank you very much. Not working? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So this is a quick map of the cultural district, a little bit more animated form than the one you just saw, our mission and goals. We continue to feature our landmark Rockport Railroad Museum, as well as our future expansion visual here. We spend a lot of time integrating art into a heritage venue.
And we'll continue to do that with the expansion that we are working on. We've also done a lot with the murals. Colin, can you make that top part go away or no? No. Here we go. Let's back up a few. Here we go. Okay, so we're continuing to do murals. These are the ones we have done to date. We do have a mural fest coming up, which we're working on. It is coming up from August 11th, to August 17th. We have engaged Jeremy Flores, who will be doing the Corpus Christi Mural Fest here in a few weeks, either fourth Mural Fest. This will be our first inaugural one in a few months. And we will install 4 to 5 murals at that time. We'll have camera crews. It'll be a big PR, video, artists in town, and hopefully a lot of visitors to participate. Continuing to highlight our cultural interface sculpture. There's some things that we're doing right now. There's to a documentary on the ecosystem, which basically started from the wildlife habitat that is placed around the cultural interface sculpture. You'll hear more about that next quarter. Here's our wildlife habitat, which I mentioned. Certification, continuing to do second Saturdays in the district, and a lot of video. The majority of people in this world are visual, and we're continuing to do reach out at a visual level, showcasing Rockport. So here's the Smithsonian, and I've got to say that, again, this thing happened with the extreme support from the county, the city. I do want to call out several people, Elle and Renee and Mike Gear. You went above and beyond. I appreciate that very much. All the volunteers, and we do have several of them here, Betty and Jim, and the other volunteers. We were open 7 days a week for 40 hours a week, times several volunteers per shift. That's a tremendous amount of volunteer hours. Add the almost 2 years in preparation. That is thousands of hours of volunteer work of people who care about this community and care about showing it at a national level and the visibility that's a part of that. So Aransas County is top of the list. City of Rockport, Gulf Coast Growth Ventures sponsored our weekly bus tours to Taft-Lackland Museum, and then Humanities Texas as well supported this exhibit. So thank you. We have 21 organizations, and if you can imagine coordinating 21 organizations that went from Galveston down to Brownsville, it has created a completely new collaboration amongst these organizations. And then we're continuing to work together. We're continuing to work together on the 250th anniversary of independence, which is coming up next year, as well as other progressive type of exhibits as a residual of this national and state sponsored exhibit. A few items, I have some visuals here just to give you a breath of the different cultures that were honored here and recognized. Mike Gear and Cody Stewart and Jeremy, a fantastic day on March 1st with the vintage airplanes. A lot of good participation there. And so these are just various pictures just to show you. Todd Hunter was there, representative from Winthrop Cloud's office was there twice. Continual great pictures, great organizations attending. A lot of PR. Social media results. And as I mentioned, we're working on Texas Film Friendly. We are a Texas Film Friendly community, and we've continued to promote that. We're continuing to add locations to the state website in an effort to lure outside film companies, producers to this community. The Texas Archive of the Moving Image pulled together some historic film and we played that. It was called Starring Rockport, had George Strait when he was probably 20 years old. Really great, had some footage of Connie Hagar on her deathbed. Had some footage that I think was shocking to a lot of people to have that history. So that's all being captured as a part of this exhibit. Continuing to focus on film. We also won the Austin Film Festival, March the 8th, for the short documentary film, The Story of the Rockport Fulton Art Colony. We have the film in 18 different film festivals in the state for this year. So that's continuing to get visibility across the state. And then also myself, Vicki Merchant, Kay Betts, we all spoke and represented heritage tourism in Rockport, Texas, Rockport Fulton, at the state conference in Austin a few weeks ago. So one of the benefits of getting the Smithsonian exhibit awarded was the Texas Historical Commission has geofenced the cultural arts district boundaries. And there's data that's provided. Geofencing is not a perfect science. However, it tracks area codes that come into the cultural districts within those boundaries, how many times they come in within a certain period of time. This is a kind of software that I believe the Aransas County Economic Development is currently looking at paying for, which is not cheap by any means. This is provided to us free of charge, and it will continue to be provided. So it's a huge benefit.
So it's not just for this year.
No, in fact, I started this last summer, so we have a benchmark.
Right.
As soon as I can get going, so this will continue to go as it was since last summer. So these are the boundaries. Daily visitor trends you can follow. You can see different peaks when we opened, and different events showed more and more. It was in line with the events that we were having. This shows where they're coming from, San Antonio, Houston, Austin, and the percentage of each. This shows 1-day trips, 2-day trips, 3-day trips, 4-day trips. So we pretty much focus on the 3-day trips. So what that's showing is 11,509 days of people that came in 3 days. So you times that by 2 is the logic for the number of hotel rooms. So if you're here 3 days, you're spending 2 nights here. So that's the logic behind this. This shows ethnicity, education, household, income, age. So this is allowing you to drill down a little bit further and understand your audience. These are our financials from Johnson and Creekmore. And that is the end of my presentation. So, have any questions?
Well, you briefly mentioned the ecosystem, and I think you sent an email out to us over the weekend.
I will, absolutely. So one of the things Aransas County does very well is have organizations and energy towards preserving our ecosystem. And as I mentioned, the wildlife habitat that was put around cultural interface sculptures, that was a springboard for a continual wildlife habitat. As you know, the right-of-ways in the counties have been given, Charlie Belair has been given approval for that. He has since been given approval from the city of Rockport to make those right-of-ways wildlife habitats. We have featured a lot of different individuals, Steve Ferguson, president of Master Naturalists. We've got a lot of different people that are included in this documentary that we're currently working on. It will be completed and debut at the Eco Summit. We're planning on June the 20th. And along with that, we have asked for a proclamation declaring Rockport, Fulton, and Aransas County the ecosystem capital of the Texas Gulf Coast.
Cool. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cheney. Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick.
Aye.
Judge Gusso.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 10.
Move to approve the presentation and discussion of the first quarter 2025 report and two pathway site improvement proposals from the Aransas Pathway Steering Committee led by Rich Connell, Chair. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's always a pleasure to be present at court. You have our submittal in front of you, but I'm gonna go over a couple of highlights. We've had a busy fourth quarter. We have your Aransas Pathway involved in the Hummingbird celebration, Christmas on the beach, Peace Pole rededication in Tule West, ongoing history center offering, the Christmas fruit cup. So we had a kind of across the board, very robust involvement. Moved straight into a strong first quarter of this year. We're involved with the Smithsonian on Main Street. We had their inaugural birthday with Pathways. We had an installation of the Pathway kiosk sign and dedication event at the Fulton Pier with several of you were in attendance. And another key attribute was the establishment or the initial planning paddling trail from Cavasso Creek. The 188 bridge is 20+ miles long in conjunction with the Texas Park and Wildlife. Next step I'd like to talk about was maintenance and operation. The effective delivery of programming, maintenance programming is provided by Aransas County employees. And from somebody who's been in this business for many, many years, you get stellar results from them. They work hard. They're out there in all kinds of different heat, mosquitoes, cold, but they're out there. And Aransas Pathways appreciates it. All you have to do is visit the sites and you can see their workmanship. They're also dealing with the ongoing compliance with the current water restrictions. We then moved into venue site assessment. You'll be hearing from one of my colleagues shortly on the airport, road, kayak, site parking, and accessibility needs. That's another study was done on Linda Cap site improvement and programming opportunities. And currently we're working very early stages of the pedestrian trail possibly through the town of Fulton and some site enhancements for our current trail system. So saying that, we're also very excited about the possible site acquisition of the 65 acres along Highway 35. If that can happen, it would be a real game changer. We really appreciate the opportunity to be involved in it. I'm available for questions or comments.
Good job. Y'all are doing great.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick.
Aye.
And Judge Gusso.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 11.
Move to approve individually the two pathway site improvement proposals. First one, airport kayak site improvement proposal. Second, Linda Castro site improvement proposal coming from the Aransas Pathway Steering Committee. And Rich, are you giving this or is Jim Farnsworth?
Person has done stellar work on this project. Jim Farnsworth is one of our colleagues. We are really interested to hear what he has to say.
Aye.
Thank you.
It was attached to your quarterly report too. so.
Airport, please.
Make a second on that one. Second.
Oh, motion and second.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, Judge, thank you for your time. We just wanted to give a highlight of kind of what is the conceptual ideas we're working on and had a team looking at through the Pathway Steering Committee. The first one up is the airport kayak launch site. It's a beautiful site. If I can go to the next slide. Oh, I got that here. Okay.
Maybe.
There we go. So this site is county owned. There's a plot at the end of Airport Road that dead ends into the bay. It's a beautiful area out there, but you can see it's all owned and maintained by the county. Thanks again to Renee and her team are fantastic. The whole area if you look at it, is fantastic, not just from a kayak launch point, but for birding and photography. It's just a paradise out there to go wander and see. So we want to make that more usable, more accessible to people coming in either as residents or visitors into Aransas County. Just from Google Earth, this is the existing site. As you come out Airport Road, you will dead end into the driveway for the kayak site. And we need to improve some signage, going directly in there. But we have a road, County Roads and Bridges, Daryl, thank you, has been out there looking at it. And so we would like to improve this whole site, because as you can see in the upper left of the picture, it's a little bit challenging to get through from the parking area down to so we need to improve that and make it easier to do. If you want to see the improvements that we're looking for, is we would like to widen the area. We have an issue that if somebody especially is bringing in a kayak trailer or anything, there's no way to really turn around down there. So we've got areas that we can add some fill and put in a new seal coat surface to this and widen slightly. We would like to make a handicap parking area, so it's formally designated in there. And then add about 190 feet of boardwalk from the handicap parking area, the whole parking area itself, down to the coastline, along the front, and then back over the perch pond in there. Is that a lot of, that gives an accessible way that you could have mobility. Anybody going down to the waterfront, you can slide off that very easily to get your kayak on into there. You're not going into the water. And we've reviewed this with Corps of Engineers, Texas Parks and Wildlife, the master naturalist, and they all seem to be okay that this looks like a good proposal.
And that looks like a sort of a football goal post, right? Okay.
Sorry, my cross-hatching. This is not saying it's architectural, but this is our concept.
Okay.
Any questions?
Approximate cost,
I'm sorry?
is there approximate cost?
We're working on that now. We've had some discussions, and depending on, we use an outside contractor. I prefer to use Roads and Bridges. They have great services there. And so that's what we want to come back with now, is to formally work with the county to get the estimates in there.
This is just an overview of what their project is.
Right.
I failed to read that there will be no money committed at this time, because they wanted approval before they put a lot of effort into.
Just to let us get underway with actually getting some bids, and it's. Thank you, Jackie, for keeping some. Okay, no questions. We can jump to Belinda Castro, please.
That's an interesting word.
Oh, thank you so much for putting this in here. Belinda Castro site is another gem that sits in the county. And I don't think very many people know where it's at, or how to find it. So we want to improve that because it has so much potential for the county and for visitors coming in. This is a recent site, even with down in some of the water. We still have birds coming into the area, and it's a beautiful site in there. If you're looking at it, it's located on 35. You're coming in over the causeway, and you're driving on into Rockport Fulton. It's on your right-hand side, and almost everybody drives by it. They just don't see it. And so we think that's got real potential, that we can clean up the front of it and make it easier for schools to come in and other visitors. And we get a lot of interest from the birding community on this. So it's actually 2 plots the county owns. And we kind of sketch that out there. You can see the water and some of the existing trails that are there. Again, Renee's team's been working on those and keeping them up to speed for us. And this is our entryway. It's tucked in between the old restaurant that's there and another one on the left-hand side. Very nondescript, and that's why people pass it. And so what we'd like to do is put in a better front entrance that would actually be more attractive. We have a stone walls angled in, so if you're driving, you don't drive right by it and not see it. This way you could actually see the signs that would give you the entrance into it. And then the The driveway itself, we would like to go in and widen that and put a hard surface on it so it's accessible throughout the year. It does get wet and muddy at times. The landscaping is just kind of FYI. Renee's team's been looking at a lot of, what do we do for natural? We don't want to go put a lot of water into that, so it should be natural. Here's the existing layout again, and yellow is some of the existing trails. And part of what we'd like to do is on the green line. That would be the new boardwalk or elevated walkway that we put around there, so it's more accessible. And the large blue dots would be the bird viewing stations. Right now, you have to crawl back to the trees to do. I think that'd be a great addition. There was an existing building at one point on this property that support was given, that's been leveled. And so we have a nice concrete pad, and there's a short pavilion in there already. And we'd like to go ahead and extend that. Bring the cover all the way across. So if you're out there trying to get pictures, you've got cover and you're not standing in the middle of the sun, right here. We think that's a relatively inexpensive add to that. Split rail fencing, this is some of the maintenance that Renee's team is already on top of and looking at and investigating. So we need to replace those around the parking area. And thanks to the tree committee, we were given some two trees to help give some separation to the RVs that you see if you're looking back towards the highway from the site. Those are just recently installed and we're growing, so that'll give us.
Yeah, they're doing very well.
Yeah, glad to have those in there. And that's our proposal in there. And so we would like to come back and give you the cost estimates and invite you out anytime to come by and see it. And yes, I'm going to be out there too.
I was at the Copano Retreat kayak run, and I really think you need to look at enlarging the parking. The parking lot was full. There were trucks parked down the side of the road, pretty good ways down the road. And, it seems like there wouldn't take too much to enlarge the parking area there.
That's what we'd like to do is be able to kind of widen that whole area. So on the sides when we widen, we may not mark it initially, but that's the thought is you park there, you're not in the grass, but you have some parking areas and a turnaround area. But thank you, Jeff.
All right.
Something else that I think I've said this before, but I saw it again when I was there yesterday, is site that we have labeled kayak sites. They're actually point of entry location for people that want to go fishing. And there were at the Retreat Road site yesterday, there were 3 people that went down and were fishing off the shore, but there's very few access points to the bay for the public anymore. And I think we kind of fall short on identifying those for that use also.
Awesome. Yes. We'll add that to our signage and making sure it's a multi-use. We already on the Pathways website that's been recently updated. We have those listed in different areas. So you can see them under birding or you see them under kayaking, things like that.
All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, Farnsworth, thank you.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick. Judge Patterson.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 12.
Move to approve authorizing the county judge to sign an agreement with Wood Boykin and Walter Law Firm regarding the preparation of an airport ground lease between Aransas County and Weldon and Ashley Deeds.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
I need to state on the record, there was a spelling error on the word leave. It should actually be read as lease, with FYI.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Mike.
So this was tabled, I believe, with the previous work that this was tabled from. Any further questions from me? And I think it's kind of based on the court's desire to look further into whether or not we can do it.
All right. Yeah.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Castleline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick. Judge Patterson.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 13, we've got to table.
Move to table item 15. Second.
Got a motion and a second to table item 13?
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
I,
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
Judge Dotson.
Aye, motion passes. Okay, before we move on, we'll take a quick break. 5 minutes then? 5-minute break.
and on the.
All right, we are back. Call. Okay, item number 14.
Move to approve the request to solicit request for qualifications for licensed certified general real estate appraisers.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Eric, morning.
Just if you guys have any questions.
Is this gonna be like part of the pool that we did on engineers and?
So sort of, it will not be a pool. We will find one licensed real estate appraiser. We can contract with them, but we will issue task orders. So if we are purchasing property or if the county decides to sell property, then we can issue individual task orders to that person, and then we're able to bypass that a procurement window. But we have included in that solicitation all of the funding sources that we included in our engineering pools. So if we are needing a certified or licensed real estate appraiser for one of our capital procurements, then we can use that.
Are we gonna enter into a contract for a time period or
A year,
a year?
yes.
Jackie,
I would like to add to this, the reasoning that for doing the qualifications, there are some exemptions that are allowed in some of the statutes. But for the funding agencies for any grants, we are required to procure them, no matter whether there's an exemption or not. So we wanted to try to keep all of our qualifications and all of our professional services consistent. And so keeping and going ahead and doing the request for qualifications will keep it consistent and will not cause any trouble or make us have to go back out for an RFQ if we did have a funding source that we require.
How's this gonna be paid? I mean, are they gonna be like on a monthly stipend or just?
No, just on the task orders. So when we issue work to them. Yes, sir.
There still may be special instances where we'd have to get a different qualified appraiser, right? This will just be for.
Right, yeah, this is just for a general, but if we need somebody that's doing shoreline or because it's an appraiser, it's a general appraisal, but there's specific
certification
appraisers that we might have to at a later date, but it might be dependent upon the funding source.
Thank you.
But, and I think this is what you were saying, Jackie, there are certain grants that require that we have hired an appraiser through this process.
Yes.
However, there are times when the county may need an appraiser, they will not be paid for with grant funding. And we could eliminate the RFQ process and just hire a person.
Yes, ma'am, but having done this, they're already procured, so we can use.
I understand it, but this will be 60 to 90, possibly longer day process.
Yes.
So if there's a need that comes up within that time frame, and it isn't going to involve a project that's going to be funded by grants, we would be able to just hire an appraiser to meet that need.
You would have to declare it an exemption, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so, I'm sorry.
No, I. It's okay.
So we have we have a pretty good pool in Aransas County of licensed real estate appraisers. Or are we looking at going like Corpus and different?
We will do it like all of them. I'll go on the state comptroller's list. I'll print out all of them. I'll include them in the solicitation. I'll do local research, include them. Anyone that has done any recent appraisals, I'll include them in the solicitation as well.
So once you decide on somebody, you'll bring it back to the court for our final approval, or we give you approval to do this?
No.
Right now, you would just give us approval for this, and then we will come back with whoever the rating committee chooses and
Good.
have you all decide if you want them or not.
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick.
Aye.
Judge Gotcha.
Aye, motion passes.
Discuss the county attorney's office notice of required lease term for lease of public property. Discuss.
So there's no motion, it's just a discussion?
Yeah. So,
Need a second for that?
No.
Let's call
Do y'all have any questions?
Well, I sort of have a question because it seemed to me that when I read through this, we, the commissioners, were being told that we have no say over this, that the county attorney's office is going to do this, whether we like it or not, and that'll just be that.
That's what this says. This is because for law took effect in September 2023, correct?
Yes, sir. This law took effect September 1st, 2023. And this is a required lease term in all public leases. I could not find in the civil files that I inherited from Jen Osteen, a notice in her files of this updated law as it was adopted. So I drafted both a notice of the actual statute word for word, which is I think the third page. And then I drafted a term or a term page that says, in case it hasn't been updated, it is now hereby updated because the law holds the county responsible for it. This is a law very similar to Western Steel. Whereas when someone does work on leased property, if they lease something from the county, like at the airport, and then they build a hangar. From September 1st, 2023 on, they now have to give the county, they're required by law to give the county a payment bond and performance bond in the amount of what they're building or what that hangar is going to be. Because at the end of the day, whatever they're doing is on public property. So it is a protection for the county. But at the same time, if we don't include this required lease term in every lease that we have, and if it doesn't happen, that payment bond performance bond, then the county is the surety.
County is.
The county is required to act as the surety. So this is a risk that if we don't notify everybody, because they likely don't follow the laws as they get updated every 2 years. If we don't tell them that this is a new requirement, we might be waiving the defense in court. They should have known it's a requirement, and by putting this in writing, giving them notice.
So what you're saying is if we don't do this and somebody comes out like from a HVAC or Siemens or whatever, and the people that hired them don't do it, we get back to pay. That's what I'm saying.
If the people who hired them don't pay them, then the county could be on the hook as being the surety.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yes. So that is for any, it's generically stated, any improvement. So that could be everything from building to rewiring to having to put a pole nearby because you're gonna pull more on the electrical grid or whatnot. And sometimes people don't pay their contractors or subcontractors. So this is a protection for the county, but it's also required by law. And I drafted a letter on there because I don't want people to think they're in trouble. I don't want them to think they've done anything wrong. So it's just really saying this new law took effect. The county is subject to it. The county is subject to it. Your lease is subject to it. And if we can protect ourselves.
Like in, I don't do the county work, but in the case of Cheney Electric, I have liability insurance and property insurance. So I paid up policy, it cost me $4,000 a year or something like that. But would that serve as handling this? Because I mean, if I don't pay it, the insurance pays it.
I don't believe they are the same. Hypothetically, well, one, because the statute says this is what has to happen now. But hypothetically, the county could sue the person and then sue their insurance company as well. Although if it's required, the insurance company is gonna say, but you were aware of the requirement. and usually until. So, yeah.
I'm curious how it is that this was passed by the legislature and became law September 1st of 2023. It's just now coming to the attention of the county attorney's office?
No, I was not here September 1st, 2023.
I believe the county attorney is sitting behind you, is she not?
Yes, she is.
We've added addendums to a lot of our contracts. But we have outstanding contracts that were in place before, so we're making sure we have a blanket policy to anyone we have outstanding contracts.
And we're just now being informed of that.
Good. So on C, a notice of commencement, that's new. That's a new thing with the law, right?
Yes, sir.
Who prepares that? Do we prepare that?
Well,
Or do they?
in the case of the county, we lease this property underneath this building and the property underneath what will be the new aquarium. And so we will be provided as a county to send this notice to the navigation district 90 days before we commence our construction. At the same time, the navigation district by statute has the authority to tell the county, I'm not saying they will, I'm just saying they have the authority to tell the county, you can't build here.
That's what I was- yeah.
And what's even more interesting is that the owner of the project has to do a payment bond or performance bond to the benefit of the entity that owns the public property. So that means the county would have to get a payment bond, performance bond in favor of the navigation district.
Okay.
So not only will we have to do the 90 days notice, but we ourselves, which we typically don't do, we ourselves will have to get a payment bond or performance bond, likely in conjunction with the construction person who does it or independently and separate from.
Another way to say, somebody that has a hangar at the airport that already has a lease on it. Are you suggesting that we notify those people or just new leases?
Both. One, I think we need to notify everybody who has a lease at the airport. Because some of these leases are for 40 years, 50 years. And this would naturally be something, laws change all the time, they change every 2 years. And so giving a notice would be in our benefit and we would need to do that. I would say that every person we have needs to be notified and I don't know that we only lease airport property. I'll find out because they'll need to get a letter. But as far as a template version, if there's anything that's new that comes up, I sent a copy of this to Eric Smith, the contracts and procurement specialist, so he can literally just attach the template as another term.
Okay, so if I'm gonna lease a hangar for $1,000 a month or whatever, what is it that I've got to do as the person going to lease the apartment or?
It doesn't, it's not when you lease it, it's if you're going to do any work or improvements on it. So if you don't ever do anything to your airport hangar, then you don't have to take out any bonds. If you just leave it the way it is.
Okay, so for an example, if I lease the hangar or a building or whatever it was, and I need to change the door out. And those are expensive. I mean, if I had to, an airport door or a warehouse door or something like that, in a leased building that the county owns, then you would have to do what? What would you have to do?
Well, why? Well, first of all, the statute says any improvement. So any really doesn't mean any. Well, I mean, how big is the hangar? How much would it cost to paint? You have to have special.
Does it say
Yeah.
It's a on the south.
Right, it just says any. So they both need to give notice, which puts a little bit more obligation on the person who's leasing it. Because that might slow down the person who is leasing from the county.
Yeah, well, they have to tell us that they're going to do this, right?
Correct.
Okay.
90 days ahead of when they do it.
Walk through this, but I'm confused. Okay, so I go and, the county owns a building. And I go and I want to rent that building for a 1-year lease. Okay, that's not improvement or anything like this, but if I get in there and start adding walls or taking walls out and everything, I have to give some sort of numeric value to that.
Correct.
And so at that point, I would have to get a bond or something to cover that before the county could allow it to do it. Is that basically what you're talking about?
You're almost there. If you lease a county building and you decide you want to add walls, let's use that example. You're welcome to go get a quote for whatever you want, so you can kind of ballpark in your brain how much it's gonna cost. What you need to do is give notice to the county that you're considering adding these walls. I would recommend that you have the cost in mind when you give that 90 days notice. The county would still have, within 10 days of receipt of your notice, have the ability to say, nope, you don't get to add walls here. Maybe it's a historic building. Maybe it's something that we don't want changed because it's only a 1-year lease, right? So, if I were the person leasing, I would not go get that payment bond and performance bond until I knew the county was gonna approve it.
Right.
But before you start construction, it must be that your payment bond and performance bond must be delivered. And you cannot start construction until you deliver that payment bond or performance bond to the county. And because the county clerk keeps the official records of the county auditors knows a lot about insurance, county attorney's office. Will keep things like payment bond and performance bond in our files. After that, they need to make a copy to all 3 people. That can change. I just think that's the most practical route for them to provide copies of. So we all have that.
All right. Any other questions? Oh,
I'm a little confused on this. Do you have this, we have a strip of hangers out on the runway apron on Highway 35? I would say like the one, say Cody has, he would have a hanger out there. It's a building, he owns the building, he leases a property. If he wants to do any work on that building, he will have to have a bond with the county. Because you're saying the county will be liable in case he fails to pay his contractor.
Yes. For the, it's not me saying it.
No, this is what your document you provide.
Yes, sir.
So it goes so far as the property sitting on, not necessarily who owns the building.
Correct. Because
That's interesting.
they're leasing stuff that the county owns. So they're leasing.
They're not improving, well, they wouldn't be improving, to do something on the inside of the building, they wouldn't be improving anything to the land, if we own the land. They own the building, I understand that they relate over, but this is kind of interesting.
I think it's very interesting.
But where does our responsibility start, and where does does it start with the fact that we own the property?
Yes, sir. You can also, where you cannot lien property that is owned by the government for projects that are where the project itself in the real property is owned by the county, you can't lien that. However, you can put a lien on a building that where we have a ground lease, but the person is the one who owns the structure. And this new law says, because at the end of the day, when that lease is over, say the person defaults on that lease, that lien would have a stake in any money. And this is the thing that preserves our governmental immunity and our sovereign immunity, saying, well, if they default on their lease, the building reverts back to the county and we do not recognize your liens. But this is another round of protection in that performance bond and payment bond also says, and the person who defaults on the lease can't hold us responsible or liable.
You might have also a situation that somebody does work on that building that somebody else owned. That person they owe could sue and get ownership of the building and maybe even the lease.
Well, I don't think they could get to the lease because of the contract with us, and we would have to directly contract with them, but they could get ownership rights of the building. You might have to find a way to.
All right. Well, thank you. Move on to item number 16.
Move to approve the Aransas County Indigent Healthcare Report for April 2025.
We got a motion and a second. Madam Treasurer, good morning.
The total expenditure for the month of April was $10,970. Year to date for their fiscal year is $232,000, which puts them about 15% of what we have budgeted.
Well, when I was looking at this, I see we're 2/3 of the way through the fiscal year of the state.
Yeah, we're at 8.
And this is at about 30% year to date as compared to 4%, whereas the fiscal year to date is 66%. So I mean, that's a very good average. We're in good shape with what we've spent. I did see on accounts payable, where there was a $10,000 payment made to CCMC for indigent hospitalization. It wasn't on this, but I'm thinking maybe it came the 1st of May and that's why it wasn't.
Well, I report on when we actually expended it, so it's a May check, so.
Okay.
And last month, we had several big hospital bills, if you remember, either last month or the month before, so.
Yeah.
It goes up and down.
Okay. Doing a good job, thank you.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casserly,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Duffy,
Aye.
Judge Cuss.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 17.
To approve authorizing Aransas County Treasurer to sign a promissory note and disbursement request and authorization between Aransas County and Prosperity Bank for the automatic extension of the expiration date for 1 year on the irrevocable standby letter of credit number 1973 from Prosperity Bank to the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, said extension going through June 1st, 2026. The letter of credit covers financial assurance of the Aransas County Transfer Station in the amount of $10,200.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
Any questions on that? We do this every year and it's for the.
And you said it is included in the budget, $250 service line.
Case.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casserly,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Duffy,
Aye.
Judge Cuss.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 18.
I move to approve authorizing the county judge to sign the service fee processing agreement and the merchant processing application agreement with IntelliPay credit card merchant processor, represented by PC Banker.
I'll second that.
We got-
So a question on that, is this the same one we've been using, or are we changing, or?
Okay, so a year and a half ago, we went with PC Bank and their in between person was Fluid Pay. The airport thought they would love it, and as it turned out, they didn't. They quit using it. Road and Bridge is using it to run payments, and I think Animal Control occasionally makes a payment on it. I have a problem with them anyway because they got these take a penny, give a penny on us. We had a refund just last week where the fee, which is charged to the customer, they took it out of our money. They're a big mess. PC Bank is now proposing to move to the TelePay. Is that the proper name?
Yeah.
TelePay. Promising that those issues won't happen. Now, whether Mike is interested in even looking at it, I don't know. It's another credit card portal, but I do want to get rid of the unreconciling pennies that keep going on and the issues I have with them.
Well, I like the fact you said they have created a simple form submission and pay link for the hotel motel tax collections. But that other departments within the county may use them also.
Right, and so I told Megan with Road and Bridge the other day that we wouldn't leave her high and dry so that she couldn't make payments. So go work with them so that she can continue. the form, basically what we've been trying to get is where people can fill out the hotel motel form. Submit it with, go directly to the pay screen and do it, and they create a little sub-program subject to Colin approving the connection security wise and all that. I don't know if it'll work, but we're attempting it. Bottom line is, IntelliPay should be better than who they are offering, but they're in between right now.
Is that the company that has a local record?
Yeah.
PC Bank has Randy, isn't it?
Randy's.
Yeah, he does a really great job with the nonprofits and government.
All out. He's out around places,
Yeah, a lot of.
not just 8 hours, not just 8 hours.
Right.
Commissioner Cheney,
Fine.
Commissioner Casterline,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick, Judge Dennison.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 19.
Discuss the cost of the timekeeping software and determine whether to continue pursuit of this software.
No decision to be made today, but I do want to. They want to say that our last department head meeting we did discuss bringing time sheet. Many times before, a lot of our department head meetings were involved and the judges been there in filling out time sheets and the confusing and all the issues with time sheets. I've been looking at programs for many years. Scared to death to bring numbers to you. Just didn't have the heart to do it. So right now, we've been looking, talking to other treasurers, whatnot, trying to get some numbers. And we're probably looking at anywhere from 25,000 to up to 50,000 just to get the program implemented. And then possible anywhere from 11,000 to maybe 18,000 a year for maintenance. If you want any equipment, I'd say 90% of the county will be logging in and out on the computer, so that would be no cost. But if you say road or anybody that's on the field wants a swiping machine, you're looking at around $2,000 for any piece of equipment. So
Are we still having problems with, people getting their time sheets and everything ready in time?
that's kind of what I'm talking about. And so it's going smoother, but there's in the auditor can vouch for, there's a lot of back and forth. With time sheets, they kind of feel like it's getting better than it was.
Yeah, I do.
We talked about a couple of years ago, 3 years ago or so, about how, some of the department heads were not getting the information in a timely manner. They was holding everything up. At that time, I said I didn't understand that because, you have time,
We do have a deadline, but if we have to go back and forth with time sheets, that's usually.
Yeah, but are you still having trouble getting what you need by the time you have
I think that we're pretty much on time.
Okay.
But, thinking of, say, the outside auditors, when they pull the time sheet, they want everything to, all the ducks to be in the time to be in the right column. It's not necessarily that the time sheet is incorrect, but we want to make sure it's in the right column, that the proper employee signed it, the department head signed it. So that if the outside auditors pulls that time sheet, it's all complete, which it should be anyway. But, I wanted to throw numbers out there and no decisions today, whether we pursue this or not. I believe that most companies that offer this software are in the state procurement thing where we wouldn't have to go out for bids.
So like the buy board or something of that.
It's like a buy board, but the state has one.
Okay.
That's called DIR.
That to be considered in next year's budget.
I was asked to go ahead and proceed for it with this year so that we can get it implemented and going, but.
Do we have money in the budget to do this?
It is currently not in the budget.
So do we have
For
to
this year.
get it or we can bring it?
Pardon?
Can we move some stuff around so that you can get it early?
We'd have to look, Commissioner, and see if there's any leeway anywhere we are under budget on expenditures right now, so there may be some.
But it'd probably be good to bring it, I know. When I was with HR, treasurer's office, timesheets were always a nightmare trying to get the information. Like you say, sometimes they'd come in, but it didn't mean they were correct. And if we have any kind of a storm or an emergency situation, having them perhaps this way might be better than where they have to get the paper signed off. And
It does.
I don't know how they all work.
It has its advantages. Other counties love it.
Oh, really? Okay.
They wouldn't get rid of it if they had to, so,
What are the bad sides, like if they don't do it correctly on the screen, or if they forgot to log in, forgot to clock in, and then it sends it to you and you see that there's an error, then, I mean, it doesn't eliminate the back and forth completely because there's still.
that the department head will. And it's gonna take lots of training, but the department head will, if you wanna use the word, tweak their people before it comes in.
Okay.
And then, of course, we will look at it and further see any errors. And then I imagine the auditors will probably audit that before we're actually say go with it. We will actually, they do have another program for more money that would actually run the payroll and spit out the checks, but I don't see the need of going that far with it because we have an code that does all that already.
You mentioned several associated costs. What would be the total cost of the package? Because you said there could be a, I guess, a high range or a low range, depending where we go.
Yeah, so it used to be around 15 and 18,000 to implement back when I first started looking at it years ago. Now it's up to like 25 to 50, depending on which one we win.
But you could bring some suggestions.
Yeah.
Fixed to go on the budget here, next month, I think. And let's get some figures together, so we see.
Right, and I didn't want to spend any more time and energy on it if that's not where you wanted me to go.
Well,
I was asked to look into it and so here I am.
well, my opinion on payroll, is that, you know, department head, if it's not correct, whenever the department head moves it from their department to you, it's on the department head. I mean, they get paid to do that sort of thing. And, you know, if you can't do it, they would need to get somebody else to do it. And elected officials, you know, I would think that they would be very, very close on what their budget. I ain't understanding other problems and issues with, not whenever it, requires us to buy new software and different things, but, you know, if things need to be moved, I'm not opposed to that. But I think now's the time to start getting us some figures so we can start looking at it whenever the judge this budget together. I think it'd be time to. Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Alma.
Before we vote, I need a second. I didn't get a second.
No,
That was just a discussion.
that's okay, sorry. That's okay.
Item number 20.
I move to approve recognizing the Association of Counties unemployment refund check of $17,822.16 and depositing.
Second.
Good morning.
Got a motion and a second. Good morning.
So we have our unemployment account through TAC, Texas Association of Counties. So each year they do an audit for the previous calendar year's financial activities, based off of this year's audit of 2024. We have more than we needed in our bucket. So that we're getting this refund of $17,822.16. And we're also getting a lower rate or unemployment rate. So each quarter our payment will be lower than it is currently. Currently our unemployment rate is 0.0016 and it's going to be 0.0009. So
That's a tremendous reduction. That's
Yeah.
almost a 50% reduction. And basically that's a tax that we pay based on unemployment claims that the county loses. So yeah, I say kudos to the HR department and to the department heads and elected officials working together to make sure that if we have terminations, that they are well thought out and processed.
documented so that I can properly fight it.
Right.
And I do want to say last year, 2024, based on 2023 calendar, audit, we had a deficit, so we had to pay $5,681 last year.
Into the reserve fund.
Yes, and this year we got a refund.
Great.
That's a good way to go.
Yep, appreciate it. Thank you. You're doing a great job.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casserly,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
I
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
and Judge Madison.
Hi, motion passes. Item number 21.
move to. I move to approve the option to add a governmental affairs position to the county judge's office to provide legal support to the commissioners court.
Got a motion
I'll second that.
and a second. Any discussion?
Commissioner Cheney,
Well, let's discuss it a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, but just exactly what are we doing here?
We're adding some legal support for the court.
There's a job description.
Yeah, there is a job description on here.
Once we get out of the courthouse stuff and everything like that, is this position gonna stay? I mean, because we always got things going on, there's no doubt about it. But this person is gonna work directly for the judge in the court.
Correct.
Okay.
That means that position will also be handling contracts, or is that a separate
Contracts.
contracts?
So there are some things on this position that I need to amend, but we could do that at a later date.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casserly,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
I
Commissioner Dupnick,
Aye.
and Judge Madison.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 22.
I move to approve the K-9 handler stipend of $5,000 per year for handlers who are assigned a K-9 partner with the Aransas County Sheriff's Office.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
I do have a question.
Morning, Sheriff.
Here. So my question is, if the handler is going to be compensated with this stipend, does that mean that then when there is essential care or appointments required to take the animal to the vet or something of that nature, that the officer will use vacation time that won't be on paid county time? How will that be handled? I'm asking.
Somebody just taking to a vet, that would be part of this hour that we're, the compensation that we're giving them, taking care of the animal.
Okay.
As it exists now, problem that came up was, our pool of employees that had low a few months ago, we were down a lot of 4 or 5 officers, as well as the courthouse has incredibly had an adverse impact on us, especially on Wednesdays. And we don't have staff. Well, we couldn't assign the animal to a new deputy right now without knowing somebody to be on the street. We were down to having 2 patrolmen on a shift. And if he left an hour early to go take care of the dog, I had 1 patrolman out covering the county, which is not something we want to get into. So we've held off on helping this thing on right now. Investigator Randy's taking care of both of them. And the decision we'll release them once we figure out how we're gonna fund the compensation. So the previous deal where we were giving them an hour a day, the actual cost was close to $5,200, $5,260, I think, a year is what figured out at a $30 an hour range. So at a flat deal of $5,000, at least they wouldn't be leaving the patrol, they would be doing this on their time at home. And
Okay, that was my question.
yes, ma'am.
Is this in your budget already?
The stipend is not there, but it's covered by cost because we're already incurring it now in comp time or payroll.
Okay.
I would like to add, we do have that budgeted though, already. We have an extra 10,000 in the stipend budget just to cover additional employees that come on board throughout the year.
For the sheriff's office?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
But we didn't have one designated for the canine.
You added this to figured into your overtime for your yearly budget, basically.
Yes, sir. In a way, we worked around with that, but when the manpower got as low as it did a few months ago, then it became an issue where we didn't have coverage late in the afternoon some days. If we release them an hour early to take care of the canine.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterly,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dukenyak,
Aye.
and Judge Donovan.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 23. Got a motion and a second?
You have the report, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. As I said earlier, we are a little bit under on expenditures. Ideally, we'd be at 34% for the fourth month, but this is the end of April. Our expenditures are at 31.81%. There's a description and some explanation on a bunch of the grants and projects and things that are finishing up and just starting, so. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
On observation on page 2, it's so nice to see 100%.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. That looks good right there.
Projects.
Yeah, I'm anxious for the last one so that I can just take it off my report.
Yeah. And then I like the addition from Eric Smith on the current procurements. That's nice to have in front of us so that if we get it, we just have our own curiosity. It's right there.
Yes, we do.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterly,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dukenyak,
Aye.
and Judge Donovan.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 24.
Move to approve budget line item. Fiscal year 20.
Got a motion and a second?
Needs to be changed. We
21.
haven't had a good time. It should be 2025.
Make that correction, fiscal year 2025.
It says fiscal year 2024. It should say fiscal year 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterly,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
Aye.
Commissioner Dukenyak,
Aye.
and Judge Donovan.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 25.
Move to approve accounts payable and payroll/payroll liabilities.
Second.
And motion second.
Okay, we have normal payroll liabilities as well as accounts payable. We'll recognize a few of these. We have DLF for the community building of $156,328.61. I need to talk to you afterwards.
Are you directing that to us? Gretchen?
I'm putting it at Adela. US Army Corps of Engineers, this is for our CAP 204. This is the pass through. It's the Goose Island project. It's between the Corps and GLO. But since the state can't give the feds money, we are pass through on it. And so there, we have a check for $215,385. That is no expense to us. The GLO will be giving us those funds, and we will not actually issue this check until we have GLO's funds.
Okay, so we'll just hold it until the GLO money comes in.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody has that.
We're fine, we can figure out that. Then we have a check for Safe Line. It's for Best. It's $639.10. And H2O Partners, that's our hazardous action plan for $32,448. I will also add that is a GLO grant that is 100%. So that's all of the capital expenditure, the big project expenditures that we have this time.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cheney,
Aye.
Commissioner Casterly,
Aye.
Commissioner Russo,
I
Commissioner Dukenyak,
Aye.
Judge Donovan.
Aye, motion passes.
apologize. I wanted to mention that when I was looking at those, for the month of March, we paid the 36th Judicial District $18,725, and that was for March only for juvenile detention, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And do we get that reimbursed to us?
No.
That's what
That
it
is
was.
ours.
That's one of our costs.
So that's a 1 month,
Yes.
almost 19,000.
That's very high. We usually don't have but maybe $3,000 or $4,000. It was very unusual.
I can tell you one of the reasons why we're paying so much is there have been multiple threats at our school district that are made by students of violence. And my office has worked directly with the school administration
to notify all of the students. They had right close to spring break, they had a meeting with all of the middle school students, both with the administration and representatives from our office, the sheriff's department, speaking with all of the students about the seriousness of making threats against other students. So that is one problem that we've been having recently, both in our community and nationwide. That has led to some juvenile detentions, which our office takes seriously and Judge Bianchi takes seriously. So unfortunately, it does cost the county some money, but it is something that we all take very seriously.
Absolutely. And thank you for that information.
Thank you. We'll move on to reports from commissioners, elected officials, and department heads. No action will be taken. Y'all got anything? Mike, you got anything? Sheriff?
I just want to clarify, I forwarded the deal to y'all, the jail commission sent us a letter earlier. Said when you look at it first, you think it's bad news. Because it titles in the most recent limited compliance review. It wasn't that we didn't, our compliance with jail commission wasn't limited, it was just that their audit was a limited audit. It was done virtual over the internet, phone calls and we back and forth. A few years ago, they had gotten to the deal where if you had been in compliance and weren't have issues with reports, they didn't like a field visit inspection. So there was a couple of years that we did not have an auditor even come to the county. And what they've done to adjust that is that rather than give you a total pass, at least we're going to review some things. And that's why they called it a limited compliance review. It wasn't that we were limited up compliance, but wanted to give kudos to jail staff for continuing the record they've upheld there. Clarify that, you know, what it's all about.
Thank you, Sheriff.
I do want to say, since you are deciding to get a governmental affairs officer, obviously I'll wait until after you've actually found one and hired one. But since they'll be taking on the load of answering all of the issues for Commissioner's Court, then my civil attorney will be able to attend to other duties within our office, because most of her job description actually doesn't have anything to do with Commissioner's Court, but we have a lot of needs in the county. So I'm hoping that that'll help us move forward. And what I want to really expand on is our mental health. We have a lot of issues in the county where both Judge Watley has expressed that she would like to have more mental health services.
I'm sorry, she'd like to have, what did you say?
More mental health services.
Okay, sorry.
And I've attended several courses. I have a degree in psychology, which I don't get to utilize very much anymore. And so I'm hopeful that part of that job description is something that we can move forward with, along with some other forfeitures and things like that, which help bring in money for the county. Since generally my department doesn't bring in a lot of money for the county, we're usually kind of staying baseline or spending money. So hopefully that we can utilize our time that way. But I'd really like to see more programs that we can create if we're able to help with more mental health programs or drug programs. And I've been working with the Children Advocacy Center a lot because I'm on their board at Corpus, and I've been trying to move any sort of services closer to us. And I know a lot of people have wanted more resources with a women's shelter closer. So we'll be just trying to work with programs closer to Rockport.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Hello.
Hi, I just wanted to let the commissioners and judge know that we received our TDM for period of performance extensions to May 22nd of 2026 for Lamar Beach Road and for Shell Ridge. So we do have those going forward. We have Anchor QEA for Shell Ridge. We're still working on getting an engineering firm for Lamar Beach, and our Army Corps of Engineers permits and December 31st of 2025. So we do need to get these engineers lined up so they can start working on those.
And the new deadline is sometime in 2026. Is it August or?
May 22nd, 2026.
Okay. Thank you, Al. It's still good news.
Thank you, Al. Buddy, I just want to add, I guess a couple of weeks ago, the news contacted me about an issue coming on Business 35 where there's a hump in the road before the railroad. I think a motorcycle had an accident there, and I guess a lot of vehicles have problems there. I haven't noticed it, but I just want y'all to know it's not a county road. It's a TxDOT road, but TxDOT, because it is near the railroad or on their right of way, they just can't go and fix it. So they're working with the people who own the right of way to get permission to go and fix that. I don't think as of today it hasn't been fixed, but they are working on it. And it's not county.
Rockport Terminals, or is it the?
So Rockport Terminals, that's where it gets cut, because they do have the right of way there, but then there's a railroad that owns it too. So I don't know what permissions they have to get from who, but they are working on it.
On that same topic, I want to thank Daryl and his group. We've talked about that off and on quite a bit. They've done everything that they possibly can in the confines of the county to get the fix. It's whenever they resurfaced it, it helped. But I wanted to let Daryl know that I appreciate his efforts.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to reports about items of community interest. No action will be taken. All right. Take a closed session.
I move we convene into closed session to consult with counsel and receive legal advice about pending or contemplated litigation, settlement offers, or other attorney-client privilege matters, including but not limited to the items listed below. For one, Francis County, Texas versus Endurance American Specialty Insurance Company et al. Francis County District Court cause number 23-0021. Number two, North Star Recovery Services Inc. versus Aransas County ISD and Aransas County. Aransas County District Court cause number 23-0066. Consolidated with North Star Recovery Services Inc. versus HR&R LLC et al. Aransas County District Court cause number 20-0159. 3, Western Steel versus T2J Partners LLC, DIE/AFBS Recovery LLC, and Aransas County. Cause number 24-0072 in the 36th District Court of Aransas County. Number 4, Old Castle Building Envelope Inc. does business as Graham Architecture Products versus Sharp Glass. Aransas County District Court cause number 24-0099. Number 5, county's permissible actions under its various contracts for the Downtown Anchor Project. Number 6, Wentz Services Inc. Public Information Act request. Number 7, Public Information Act request. Texas Government Code 551.071, also known as the Texas Open Meetings Act, authorizes closed session meetings to allow for a governmental body to consult with its attorney and receive advice on legal matters pertaining to pending or contemplated litigation, settlement offer, or a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Open Meetings Act.
All right.
Yes, second.
Got a second?
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Casterly.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dufnick.
Aye.
And Judge Sutton.
Aye, motion passes. Yeah, 5-minute break, 8-minute break, and then we'll go to closed session. 12:24. Can I get a motion to go back to open session?
Second.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick.
Aye.
And Judge Matheson.
Hi, we're back in open session. And we have a motion to discuss what we just, or motion for what we discussed in closed session.
I move that county attorney's office draft a contract amendment to PGAL and authorize the county judge to sign the document in payment for additional services as presented by PGAL on May 12th, for services through February 14th, 2025, in the amount of $83,550, and payment for additional services on the punch list in the amount of $22,200 for a total of $105,750.
Second.
Got a motion second.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick.
Aye.
And Judge Matheson.
Hi, motion passes. Motion adjourned.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Cheney.
Aye.
Commissioner Casterline.
Aye.
Commissioner Russo.
Aye.
Commissioner Dupnick. And Judge Matheson.
Hi, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Dana, you guys, I can send you a copy for this afternoon.